Welcome to Master Manual, a practical guide for DMs, GMs, and just wanna BMs, as well as other folks. This is a podcast where we answer questions and talk about role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but mostly from the DM's perspective. Hopefully regular guys and girls and others will, just everybody will enjoy it. I enjoy it. I don't actually enjoy it that much. My name is Spencer Crittenden. I'm sitting here with...
Hey, I'm Cohen Edenfield. I think people are enjoying it. I think they're liking it okay.
Yeah, no, that was me. I'm saying I don't enjoy it. I hate this. We do a bad job every day.
Yeah. It is a every 7 days, well, 8 days. We are recording this one on a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. So if you're trying to get our schedules, just know that we mix it up.
And this is why, because you're trying to get our schedules.
Yeah, we see you, and we're adapting.
In the bushes.
But yeah, so that's the typical self-deprecation out of the way, huh?
Yeah, we're getting faster. Let's go. Let's
you
move
got
faster.
any great stories to tell us, regale us?
Oh yeah. No, I think last time we workshopped what I kind of wanted to change.
Right.
In the campaign I was running, and it turned out really well.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, the big shift, the big benefit, I think, was that I suddenly had the characters in a medieval fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm.
And D&D, as it turns out, is so much easier to write and run if you're not reinventing the wheel of like basic assumptions about the campaign, such as
right.
People are in armor. Magic exists. There's a castle. There's a trap. There's a Medusa. There's
certainly a lot of the rules and content make those assumptions.
Yeah, and I've sort of started to realize that it's like, much as big high production podcast D&D games have been the thing that's holding me back is D&D. I've started to realize the thing that was holding me back was trying to have a non-D&D ass story. I mean, I'm still doing Sonic the Hedgehog OCs. Let's
be real here. Come on.
That's still happening, but it's like, as soon as I got back into that genre and through this going into the mind of a character, and then it's like their internal headspace is this like castle.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's stuff going on, and I was able to throw some NPCs in that I could speak through, and everything just got a lot more clear. It was like, right, this is the way this world works.
Yeah, this happened to us in Shadowrun, but that was one of the biggest realizations I had, is that you kind of just think of these genres as genres, and you're like, oh yeah, there's horror, there's fantasy, there's sci-fi. Okay, we've tried fantasy, horror doesn't seem. Let's try sci-fi. Let's try superheroes. But like the tropes and the visual language and the conceptual just landscape. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like there are conventions to this genre and to this stylistic universe that are reflected in the mechanics and the things that you do.
But I mean, you know what a sword is. I know what a wizard is. Everybody knows what a castle is. But who knows what a BTL chip is, and who knows what a data link is? It's like all these. They're not resonant concepts.
That's Shadowrun stuff, right?
Yeah, that's Shadowrun stuff.
I mentioned that because Shadowrun, of course, is a different kind. It's a different RPG.
It's sci-fi. It's cyberpunk. Yeah, it's a more rules heavy system, but just specifically just with the sci-fi stuff, it doesn't.
It's minutia driven,
right?
Almost, right.
Well, just even beyond the minutia, it's just like, okay, you see a dragon, everyone knows what that means. Okay, you see a sonic protected, camera guarded, wireless door frame, reinforced level 5. No one knows it. That doesn't make any sense.
It definitely feels like in that game space, familiarity with the specifics, as opposed to like it becomes less like I know what my character would do, and more I know what one should do when encountering this door or this enemy. It becomes like the information becomes the weapon, which is probably on the back of the player's handbook for
Well,
Shadowrun.
it's just, I mean, that's part of the concept of the game. So when you take that away and it's just like, and you don't have that understanding, we did it in front of an audience, obviously, and the audience never read the Shadowrun book and doesn't know what a sin number is. And so like, it just, the audience doesn't get it, but then also the players don't get it because they're like, oh, I didn't read that chapter. Or it's like, oh, what is a face and what is an aspect? And it's just
because it's hard to, you can play a rules like D&D because then you're basically playing a gamified improv.
right.
It's hard to play a rules light Shadowrun because then what is left then?
Well, it's like it's
nothing against the genre. I love cyberpunk, but it's like what you're saying is like so much of it is driven by by familiarity with things that aren't like in Lord of the Rings.
right. So it takes a lot more effort. You can't just say, oh, you find yourself in a weird cyberpunk alley like in these cyberpunk movies. Because, I mean, that's maybe evocative, but it doesn't give you the specifics you need that if you say you're in like a dungeon passage and it smells like mold or something that instantly evokes this stuff that's usable.
I think that something else you're tapping into here is perhaps one of the reasons we've seen this big D&D renaissance is the massive popularity in the early 2000s, late 90s of a resurgence of like The Wizard,
Sure.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings,
Vampires,
Game of Thrones, all of these everybody played Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden these genre conventions moved out of the niche. It is no longer weird to know what a wizard is or to know like
a magic ring.
Yeah, like your average person might be able to distinguish. Well, this might be a little. I was going to say be able to distinguish between a drake, a wyvern, and a dragon, but that's probably getting into the weeds.
Yeah, but
at
it's
least
just
a little bit.
like you go into a factory that could look a lot different to a lot of. I don't know. I feel like
I
I'm
picture
repeating
Looney
myself.
Tunes.
What?
I picture Looney Tunes. I picture they're playing Powerhouse like dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. That's what they do in factories.
Yeah, but it's just that was always a problem for me. It's just like it's just never it all, and then also just the conventions of society kind of mess with D&D concepts because it's like I don't know. It was just always weird. They would always get in like a taxi cab and drive away, and it's like it's like it makes sense and it doesn't make sense, and it's like they're criminals and they're getting into an Uber that's certainly tracking stuff. You know?
Yeah, but then like.
Switching your social security number is a big part of the game of Shadowrun.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God. That sounds like a really easy thing to do while drunk in front of 100 people with week-long gaps between
right
20 minutes of play.
So, and then everyone was like, oh, the problem is that they're changing characters. The problem is that Kumail's not showing up. It's like, the problem is no one knows what the fuck Shadowrun is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I don't blame anybody. It wasn't my idea.
And I mean, there's a reason that, I mean, like when Dan called you up originally, you didn't start playing second edition, which is because second edition is inscrutable.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh no, you need to get your armor down to 0.
Yeah.
And then
Thaco. Meaningless.
Yeah.
It's all nonsense. It's all bad stuff and no one should enjoy it.
You know what? Let's. I know I was saying I wasn't really in a place to play the. I'm in kind of a weird place this week, but I was saying I wasn't in a place
Cohen's
to do the names
in Germany.
game. But yeah, it's true. I'm not. I'm just where I was.
The weirdest place.
It's a pretty. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
No, let's do the damn names game. Let's do it.
All right. Some Helga Cruciform.
Yeah, let's the game where we come up with names, because sometimes when you're a dungeon master, you have to riff names on the fly. In fact, often you have to do this.
Yeah. You can write a list of names. Oftentimes, I riff a bunch of names and just write the good ones on a list, and then it's like, oh, if someone encounters someone, I'm like, yep, his name is Burfo Two Flanks.
All right, well, there's your opening
Burfo
salvo.
Two Flanks.
Burfo Two Flanks. I'm going to go with Caprio Solaris.
Okay. So
Capri-Sun.
I had this idea that, I don't know, this is not a rule, but I might try it because I think if I go like the James Bond, or I guess they do Bond, James Bond, but if I go first name and then like repeat the first name and add a last name, I think I might get better results, if that makes sense.
I got something even better.
Uh-oh.
We're each going to do 13 names.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we're going to do this is It might not come out with 13. We'll do it until we run out of letters.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start with A, B. Then I'm going to do C, D.
Okay.
Then you do E, F. And then we're going to go just down there. So
All right.
go A, B.
Abalone, Bones aplenty.
Crux, Dynamo.
Edward, Fingers.
Gorgeous Harold.
That's IJ. Ian, Jacoby.
Killian, Lackwit.
Mormon, Noron.
Opulent Pete.
QWERTY, Rogaine.
QWERTY.
That's a bad one.
I've been doing a lot of adjectives than just regular ass names.
That's
okay.
fine.
No.
I like those. Like Big Paul. It's like there goes Big Paul. You're on
you know what?
ST, right?
Yes. Silvio Tremaine.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yuri Valvalon.
Oh Jesus, WX.
Wait.
Fantasy. No problem. Wyvern Xerxes.
Yolanda Zachary.
And there we have it. That was Helga Cruciform.
That was a Helga Cruciform.
Yeah, this time it was different. I forgot to tweet it out, so nobody played with us this time.
Oh yeah.
Somebody played yesterday, but even though I didn't tweet it out.
Use the hashtag Helga Cruciform if you want to play, and that way we won't have to look through the timeline.
Yeah.
Like I am currently attempting to do.
It makes things a lot easier.
I don't think we're going to succeed at this. Should we just maybe crack on?
I
love saying crack on this podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone's noticed that.
Here's somebody.
I love cracking on.
You know what? Let's just embrace the weirdness of it and not read player names this week.
I'm not gonna.
All right,
I'm not even gonna read though.
All right. What's next? What are we up to?
We got questions. Do you want a question?
Yeah, I'm going to pitch this one to you. I'm going to see what you got to say about this, because I'm curious.
All right. Marshall 86 says,
Okay.
Clizzle the sickly. Just one.
That is good. Yeah, that's the winner this week. Okay. Cody asks, I've seen several DMs abandon the traditional alignment system lately, saying it leads to generic characters and players can build a character with more depth by focusing on strengths, flaws, and bonds. What are your thoughts on this playstyle?
Well, I definitely think it's true that there's more depth with traits, flaws, and bonds, or whatever you said. That's just more data points. How can it not be more deep? Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the problem with the alignment system is that people don't. I don't know how it was intended. I think it was intended as a very strictly regimented system
I don't
you
think
don't break.
I don't think anymore it is.
Yeah,
I think originally.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly
But in 5th
nowadays,
edition,
it doesn't work like that. But I think that the problems come from people thinking of it in either that term or the opposite, like basically nothing matters. I don't know. In a lot of my campaigns, I don't use stuff like that. I get to choose my player's spells because of the format.
Oh, yeah.
But I avoid spells that are like detect evil, anything involving evil or good, just because a lot of times it's just like, oh, there's a suspicious guy. He's the focus of the episode. I detect evil. He's evil. There goes, now the episode doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So there's narrative stuff that I find can be undermined by shortcuts that involve the alignment system
This
in
is
the
why
game.
I would never ever steer a player towards the divination path or whatever.
Right.
It's just like, or that whatever. I can't remember what it is, but that thing where you get to just know a thing about the story. Augury. Yeah. Good God, I would not, because it's like. Please don't make me know what this is on the spot.
Right.
Please don't lock me in. Or the best I would want to give like a cryptic vision. Augury is a spell that lets you ask the DM something.
You can ask a deity a question. It has built-in carve-outs for you can kind of give them a bullshit or non-answer if you want, but they do that because without that, it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah. It's best used, I think, in like which door is the most dangerous.
Right.
And because really all that you're doing there is building dramatic tension.
Sure. And then, it's like a demon could intercept the augury and give you the bad advice if you want. So,
That's a good.
That's in the book, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So let's talk about good things about the alignment system because I like it. And I just think that a lot of the flaws that come with playing it are kind of user errors more than a problem with the system. Maybe a system that generates user errors is flawed, but
I think that I think that the alignment system is often a thing, like critical hits, rolling a d20, and like casting spells that are like one of like the 8 or 9 things that people know about D&D
Right.
before, because they're the things that always get represented. It's like, I'm chaotic, my character's chaotic evil.
They
in
get
this
said
episode.
in media.
Yeah, they're a
They're
touchstone.
a reference.
Yeah, and so as a result, I think that, I mean, my character is neutral evil, Connell Velveteen, and
Right.
he is out for himself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that he's like, I mean, I think evil, for me, I think if you think about evil as this character acts out of self-interest, and if you think of good as this character acts out of altruism,
Right.
if it's a spectrum between self-interest and altruism, I think that chaotic evil works better not as a player character, because I think that I feel like chaotic evil is like just people who just, I don't know how to play a chaotic, I don't know how one would play a chaotic evil character that wouldn't. I know that people do it. I know that people are like, and then he does this and this absurd thing, and he fucks a horse, and he kills the king, and
well, that's the thing. It's like that's using alignment in a bad way. It's using it as an excuse to frame a lot of actions, but it's not truly informing a character, because it's not a cohesive character. It's a character that exists out of id, but it's like you're doing that for the fun of the game, the same way you kill people in Grand Theft Auto. It's not because it's like that's a cohesive, the character would never kill all the people and drive over people in Grand Theft Auto, because the character doesn't reappear living out of a hospital in a real way. Like that's a game mechanic,
there's the like driving is a mini game in Grand Theft Auto that is sometimes given an absurd amount of narrative weight when they decide to make it part of a mission, which happens often because it's the name of the game, but most of the time you exist outside of the reality of the narrative, which I think is how a lot of people play D&D. Is like they drift in and out with how seriously they take it.
Yeah. But like chaotic, I mean, I was just Googling like chaotic evil monsters, and it's like,
there's a lot.
Well, there are, but it's like, it's not what you expect. I don't know. Like orcs are chaotic evil, and orcs live in a society, and they have rulers, and it's like you would go to an orc bar, and like 2 orcs might get in a fight and kill each other, and it's like it doesn't even register as a bump at the bar, because that's normal orc society. But they still just aren't going around like being like crazy weird clowns that explode everything. Like
there's a reason to it,
right? Because
there's a cultural norm.
Their culture, it values cruelty and strength, because they were created by a god who loves cruelty and death and warfare and combat, and so they were made in his image, and so they live by strength, they rule by strength. A lot of that is cruelty, but it's like it's not random. It's very intentional, and it makes sense, and there's character to it. And you can be that chaotic evil, but that's not being a weird, rando murder hobo, is the term they use.
They don't. The murder hobo meaning the type of character who just kills everyone and doesn't have a home because they just go from place to place.
Adventurers are usually not.
They should. It's more fun if they're not. It's more fun to DM if they're not.
Well, they're adventurers. They're transient. They're just cruising through. They don't have a place that they go back to. Yeah,
unless you give them one in downtime.
Sure,
that's fun.
Yeah.
I guess ultimately my answer to this is, like anything else in the game, like bonds and traits, it's best used when it's a springboard for creativity and not something that locks you in. Although I do like the narrative weight given to it by like a paladin that has to stick to the letter of lawful good.
Right.
That's kind of neat. Or they like literally lose their powers.
And then there's also interpretations of that could be very unfun. So it's like there's ways to lean into it that are opportunities, and ways to use that as like a stranglehold or like handcuffs to put on someone. And that's your approach. I think I don't know. It's hard to even instruct, because to me it's very obvious, and then I read online all these different approaches that seem so counter to that, and they seem so prone to issues, and a lot of times there's a lot of complaints with those, and it's like, well, yeah, what'd you expect? This is exactly what you're going to do. And so I can't even really inform people too much, but
I think well, let me make sure we answered the original question.
He's like, do we like favoring alignments or?
He's seen people abandon it. I think it can be useful as like a thermometer.
Yeah.
Update it is the thing.
Right.
If you have characters who start trending in a different direction from what their stated alignment is, tell them like, all right, you know what, you're actually not lawful good anymore. Or like if you've been, this is trending away. So I mean, you don't have to tell people to put on their sheet, but I like updating mine with what I've been like.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know, everyone thinks it's all set in stone, but it's like, it's just a representation of who your character is, and characters can change like people change. It's like that stuff happens. I don't know.
I update I make a new character sheet every 4 levels, and I update the traits, bonds, and all that to reflect what my character's actually been like, because it's moved past the point where I used what of the prompts was interesting, and then I just want it as a reference.
Right. And your character's grown since then. You've played a lot with them. So yeah, does that answer their question?
I think it did.
It better have.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be pissed.
All right. Do we want to go to the break?
Well, we would normally. Wait. Do you want to do another question?
Yeah. You know what? Let's do another question.
Let's just question it up.
I think I might be in a questioning kind of mood this evening. This might end up being an unfortunately informative episode. A little less absurd.
Let us know if you hate this.
All right.
We won't change our behavior.
No, we won't. We won't know because it'll be 4 weeks. But still, let us know. Okay. This comes from Eric. He says, I'm running a game with friends that already has 5 players. I'm obligated to invite 2 more people into the game. That's a lot. You're right. Have you ever run a game that large? What's generally your cap? Is there some clever way to make a game not lag with 7 people? None of them have any previous D&D experience from which to compare, so I can't imagine they'd complain. I just want everyone to keep having a great time. Thanks, I'm really enjoying the podcast. Thank you, Eric. Yes, actually, the first time I ever DM'd, it was with 7 people who had never played before, because I made a game for 4 people, and then one more person came, and they brought 2 more. And it did not work, because that is not what the game is balanced for, and it's just too much.
So how many was that?
7. It's the same as this person has. It's
I would say
2 more. 7
is the absolute limit. I have played games with 7. They aren't great. They're technically possible. I wouldn't even try a game with 8 people. I honestly wouldn't ever recommend anyone do a game with 7 people if they can avoid it. I would say 6 is functional. It's not ideal, but it's definitely functional.
Here's a problem with 7. Let's say generously, one person takes about half a minute if things are really humming. Really going quick to, you know what, I feel like I have to say, like, it takes an average person in this game about a minute to do a turn. So already it's going to be 6 minutes bare minimum between when you get to actually act. That's a long time.
Yep.
That's half of an episode of like Steven
Aqua Teen
Universe
Hunger
or
Force.
Aqua Teen. That's like that's so long to go, and people are going to drift, and you're going to lose track. And so, also, let's think about who's going to have to fight. What is the challenge created for 7 characters? Do you have a horde? Do you have a horde of characters who are going to fight these 7? That's just going to be even more time between each person's individual action.
Right.
Do you have a huge monster that they fight? Well, they're going to kick its ass because there's 7 of them, unless you give it like an absurd CR. But again, 7 is just so many.
This is like a thing about just game design in general, right? If you're playing a video game, you have 100% of the time to yourself, the game player.
Yeah.
If you're playing a turn-based 2-player game, then you're each taking half of the turns, but you're so invested in the other player's turn as it relates to your turn, you're pretty invested in the other player's turns with 2 players. But once you split out of 2 players, it goes from having, so you were 100% of engagement down to, let's say, 50% engagement with 2 players. Then it's 33, then it's 25. You have 6
and
players.
That's if you're only focused on yourself, which, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just mathematically, let's 7 players. What is that? 12?
14?
So you're only playing 14%.
14 and a half.
Just imagine that. It's like, just imagine playing 14% of like a basketball game or something. It's very little of what you want to be doing.
Yeah, it's like if you had 7 people on a basketball team and only one person could move at a time.
Yeah.
It's just, the simple fact is also, the smaller a group, the more connections you will have within the group.
Mhm.
Like I'm playing in a group of 5. I'd say I have like we've been playing about like 8 months or something. I have my character has some interesting connections
Mhm.
with like 2 of the other people, and it's working on 2 with the other. Because the simple fact is, we have 5 people. If you have 5 people, that means there's 5 plus 4 plus 3. That's like 15 different connections.
Mhm.
If if 8 players, if you number them 1 to 5, between 1 and 4, between 2 and 3,
5
between
factorial.
Yeah, 5 factorial, exactly. If you take that up to 7, what you're essentially going to get is a few little you'll get clusters if you're lucky.
Right.
I think that if you have 7 people, you have enough to run 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 and 3.
Yeah. Or you could have someone double up.
Yeah.
Go 4-4. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And it's just truly is.
And 7 people who've never played before is, no offense to new players, but that is going to magnify the difficulty, because you're not just running a game for 7 people. You are teaching 7 people at once how to play.
Right.
All of them are going to feel like, or like a lot of them are going to feel like they're the only person who doesn't get it. They're going to get it at different levels and be engaged with different things.
Yeah.
I know this is really discouraging, but just don't do this. The game isn't designed to play this way.
Yeah. There's not really a way to make it not lag. The only advice I could give you in terms of doing it is like, it's really a group learning experience. It's like, if you're like, hey guys, we're going to learn how to like make sandcastles really well.
Yeah.
And it's like, none of us knows how to do it. And isn't it fun that none of us is knowing how to do it and we're all learning together? And then that you go through character creation kind of like that. And it's like, it's almost like a study group in that sense. And so everyone's helping each other because no one really gets it. And that approach can kind of make you feel more in it together and help everyone help each other out. And in that way, you share your skills more than it's like fighting with each other over who's to what level.
Yeah.
When I played the home game at Dan's house, that's what we did, and it was cool because you would actually see people looking at the book and helping each other with the character sheets and stuff in ways that you wouldn't expect because they truly don't know how to do it. And then you can kind of go around helping administrate people but it's just,
it feels like you'd have to kind of marshal them, and you would, like, the DM would become much more like, now you're going to do this,
right,
this
you're
is
a
where
facilitator.
you're going. You really can't leave 7 people to figure out your story. Or figure out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you're kind of giving everyone little and that's when I played it. That's what happened. Is it's kind of everyone wanted to do their own thing, so it was like kind of 7 mini stories, and then sometimes they would weave together and be like, now everyone's fighting, and now it's like, well, didn't Derek say something? I'm going to go talk to Derek, and it's like, well, I'm going to go talk to Kevin, and then it splits back up again.
It's also you're dealing with, in this situation, 7 people who have maybe coming into it from video games or from nothing at all. Mm-hmm. And who are now having to like deal with they might not know how to do group cooperative gameplay improv.
Right. And in my group, what happened is everyone would kind of pair up anyway. So someone would be like, I want to go to the hospitality guild. And someone's like, that sounds fine. I'll go there too.
I didn't even think about splitting the party.
But honestly, though, if you have 7 people, making some of them become buddies that kind of like operate as a semi-unit. Like, it's like, yeah, me and Dave are going to go. I'm only picking male names.
Yeah. Karen and Kristen.
Karen and Kristen are going to go talk to the pub. And, then in that way, it's kind of like you're chunking players into
talk
single
to the pub
players.
As a unit.
Well, it's a living pub.
Sense. Oh, right.
That's part of the campaign.
Yeah. It's O'Houlihan.
O'Houlihan, the living pub.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the episode. I'm going to write that down.
Good.
All right, now we're going to be back with a quick break.
Large stone discs.
Whoa.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
What do you do with your large stone discs?
I just kind of leave it on the floor. Sometimes I put it right in my entryway.
This seems like something you would trip over and break every toe in your body.
Well, I did, yeah. Look at my casts.
Wow. O'Houlihan's cast ointment.
Wow, you're talking about O'Houlihan, the living pub?
I'm talking about O'Houlihan, the living pub.
He's branching into creams and ointments?
How do you think? I mean, he's got that integrated marketing. That's how he ended up in our episode in the first place.
The brand you trust for alcohol and other imbibements is now bringing you bodily health?
Oh, yeah, because we all know it's way too late to do anything about the large stone discs in our lives.
Yeah.
our feet are going to break on them like the surf upon the jagged rocks that they so similarly resemble.
It's an inevitability of the fashion of our day.
Your feet are a minefield, and it's D-Day.
Yeah,
but
man.
O'Houlihan, the living pub, is there with his cast ointment to help you deal with the fact that you've obliterated your entire lower body, and the pain creeps upwards, threatening your heart.
Oh, yeah. That's where the ointment comes in. It pushes that pain back down where it belongs, in your toes.
Spewing out of your toes like roots growing in time-lapse.
Just don't get it on anything.
Don't get it on anything, especially not the stone discs.
Because that's pure liquid pain. And if you stub your toe on pain-covered discs, oh boy, you're literally in a world of pain.
Yes. You will bring us all screaming and terrified into the third epoch of agony.
But you don't have to do that. Just use the promo code Master Manual at checkout and get 2 extra ounces, as well as a handy pre-puncture mitt in the tube of ointment.
Yeah.
No more you will need to puncture it yourself or be assured that it will stay fresh forever because we're puncturing it for you.
Yes.
You know it. It's just going to go bad at a point.
Don't rate us badly based on the packaging because you know up front.
We're telling you it's a feature, not a bug.
You and I are entering into this with eyes wide open, and anything that happens, no one can say you weren't warned.
O'Houlihan's Living Pub presents this ointment stuff.
It's too late to do anything else.
And we're back.
Wow. What a suite of products, and you know that I enjoyed them. I sure did.
I don't know if you guys know, but we're going with a new ad placement firm. They're integrated a lot more heavily into our interests. We hope they're more relevant to you than the past ads have been, but we will need you to fill out the surveys. Just if you could do that, it's always helpful to us. As always, it helps keep the lights on.
Please, O'Houlihan is... We really shouldn't have signed the contract while inside O'Houlihan, the living pub, because these terms are really not generous.
Yeah.
There's just a large red X over a crude drawing of my face.
As a pub, just great, best in the biz. But in terms of a drawer upper of legal contracts, not the one you want to be working with.
I would say it's spite and threat based more than anything else.
I would say it's arcane and monstrous.
Yeah.
You know. But that's enough about our problems. We're here to help you with your problems, huh?
Yeah, let's keep this bad boy rolling. I know that we normally do other things, but let's do this instead.
We're doing questions. Let us know.
Questions.
Let us know about the questions. Also, if you have any ideas for like pitches for details or just features of, say, loot table things, like if we did a cool sword and you're like, and the cool sword can shoot lasers, like talk about those on the discussion forums that we have, like Reddit or on our Instagram and stuff. I think it would be cool to kind of talk about like the best things people came up with. So if they're like, oh, what if the Knuckle Lord is like, he's actually a knee lord, and then it's like, yeah, he's in, and then we could talk about, I don't know, that's just putting that out there.
And let us know if you, as we say, if you use these things in your campaign, let us know.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
All right, okay, I'm going to throw another question at you.
Cool.
Okay, do you have any tips for running a campaign online? I have no experience with it, but I'm hoping to run a game with my friends. Discord, Roll20, I appreciate the help. That comes from Zach. Zach Mack.
So I've used Roll20 once or twice.
Me too.
It was a long time ago, so it has changed a lot.
4th edition?
I used third edition, if
I
recall.
That's right. What'd you think of it?
It was okay. It was very limited. I don't know. The main problem is the lack of face-to-face communication. So if that's fixed, that's something. Also, you can use like Google Hangouts or something to get around that.
I use Skype.
Right.
Here's the thing about Roll20, and we've talked about this before, and I don't want to be down on this because I know that is a thing that a lot of people use.
It's definitely a useful tool for a lot of people.
For me, the closer things get to being a bad video game,
right,
the less fun, the less I'm able to direct and engage with it. I've played it and I've run it, and I understand that it's really hard to run a game online. Trust me. I'm doing it right now. But I think that I think you can do so much more. I think, for one, I think that in a small game, I mean, in an online game, the idea of, like, for instance, 7 players becomes even more untenable.
No, I'd say that's literally impossible.
Yeah, smaller the better.
Yeah,
if you could get it down to 3, I'm having a lot of success with that.
Yeah.
Maybe 4, but again, it's just, I don't know if people do. I've also been Skyped in to. There was a game I was in for like 3 years, and then I moved, and then I was Skyped in for a while, and then it kind of just tapered off because ultimately the problem there is that there is a social experience that is happening that you're not part of in the same way. There's just a feeling of being at the table that is not what you're having, and the absence of that is fine, but it's a different game. The problem is when you're playing a different game than everyone else.
Yeah.
Running a game online, you're going to rely a lot more, or at least I do, a lot more on descriptions.
Right. It's a lot harder to convey stuff.
Yeah. I'd say lean into that. Lean away from puzzles that are like
visual map-based.
Yeah, map-based puzzles. Sprawling maps. I can see doing Roll20 where you just reveal it, or like a thing where you just reveal the map that they've explored.
Like a map as a note, like, because I think they let you move around figurines, but do you mean just a macro map to look at and
I
kind of
just meant like a
on?
map? Yeah, but I guess the figurines for me is
I would say, it's better without those, just as a map to look at.
Yeah. And it's like, you're in this room, and if there's like a thing where you can click to tell them what room they're in. Because I don't know, I think that until you get into combat or traps or stuff, somebody's specific placement in a room becomes very micromanagey.
Yeah, it's rarely relevant.
Yeah, and it's like if somebody's it's why 5th edition recommends that you have something called marching order,
right? Which
just determines.
That's an old concept.
Yeah. But this is where I came into contact.
No worries.
Is who's in the front, second, third, and fourth, and the assumption is that you are always in this order,
right?
Which means that the DM doesn't have to ask, what order are you saying? How are you standing, or whatever? If they want to have somebody attack from behind,
or a fireball explode,
or a fireball, or whatever. Because if you ask the question, "What order are you standing in?" they're going to answer based on what they think is about to happen,
right?
Generally, or they'll try to figure it out, and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, it becomes a metagaming moment.
Yeah, and those always pull things out.
Yeah,
those always pull you out of the moment.
I did a IRC game, and that's even harder than Skype because it's hard to be in a conversation through Skype with multiple people, just because people can talk. It's like listening to a satellite correspondent on a talk, like a TV news show or something. It's just there's a delay and it makes things awkward, and it's always like, wait, what? Oh, I'm gonna talk now. You're talking. We're both talking. So that's a thing. But like that's way worse in text because like most pieces of a text exchange aren't a full thought. Like you do a sentence which is meant to be one of 4 sentences, but you don't get the 4th sentence out before other people start chiming in, and then you lose the thread of what you were saying, and then it's like, what is anyone talking about? And that happens through Skype too, but it's way worse in text format. So that's the biggest thing, and that's being present. That's trying to keep everyone involved. That's making sure everyone's sharing the same space in reality and not kind of in their own world or in their own situation that they're zoned out into.
Yeah, a big that's absolutely. And you're having more. You won't be able to see people. I mean, maybe you'll play with video. All that it seems like a big advantage of voice only is that it's easier to get into character, and it might be easier for people to not feel self-conscious. Pay attention to how often people are doing things, and if you notice that somebody hasn't said anything in a while, do the old DM trick of the Ogre King points his gnarled finger at Spectacles and says, "What are you doing in my keep, rogue?"
Right.
You engage with them directly.
Bring people in.
Yeah. Ask questions. Ask what does your character think about this?
Yeah, I think in these formats, it's a lot more prone or conducive to one person trying to steamroll and take over things, just because it's more easy for one person to gain momentum and go, okay, so let's do that. Okay, let's do that.
And they can't see the people around them checking out.
Yeah, exactly.
450 miles away.
So you got to keep more track of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I would say, as much as you can, don't lean on the mechanical elements of the system other than, say, rules or like dice rolling and stuff, just because engaging with an app to make the rules interactions happen is always gonna slow everyone down. It's gonna be clunky, and it's gonna feel less fun and more sterile than actually rolling the dice and playing the game.
Rolling your own dice is a thing that really makes it still feel like you're playing D&D.
Yeah, it feels a lot more stupid if you're just having numbers generally.
Does.
I don't know. When I did it on IRC, you had to roll dice bot, and you'd say like dice bot 80 or something, and it always felt stupid. It felt bad.
You know what it feels like when it rolls badly? It feels like cheating.
Yeah.
It feels like when your character, when you're playing like a tactics RPG and you have a 67% chance to hit and they miss.
Yeah.
It feels like, well, it should have hit.
Right.
Because it's...
Man, there's games where a 90% hit rate is like a 40% hit rate, and then a 60% hit rate is like a 95% hit rate.
It's not what it says it is.
That's very strange. I mean, I guess theoretically that could just be mathematical probabilities, but I swear to God, that's how it plays out.
Yeah. The simple fact is that true expressions of that kind of thing always feel more whatever. Same reason
wrong,
people think people think a slot machine is running hot.
Right.
Of course, that actually is true. Those are actually engineered to keep you playing.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of them, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, but then some of them are they juice them down.
Yeah,
because they're next to the ones that's really hot.
Yeah. It's because the ones that are near the the ones that are near
the entrance.
where people are walking around win more.
Those are the hottest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was sort of everything I had. Oh. Get people. This is a fun thing. If you're the DM, set up a Google Drive and get people to upload their character sheets.
Right.
Even if it's just a picture of them.
I think in terms of online sharing documents and sharing content like that, even just if like you're pulling off like concept or mood pictures for like your character or like a place, it's like, oh yeah, here's the Night City and it looks kind of like this picture of South Dakota or so, whatever. Any of that stuff you can use a lot more.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have to print or anything. So like I would say use that to your advantage because that's something that's a lot easier in this realm.
And if everybody's wearing headphones, music feels cooler than when it comes out of the TV on the other side of the room. Not that doesn't feel cool.
Well, it's a bigger part of the experience because you have less of an experience.
They're making an effort to ignore the things that are around them.
Yeah.
And focus on the audio visual of the game, which is something that people don't always do in D&D.
Yeah. Damn, man. Hopefully that answers a question.
I feel like that answered a lot. I feel these are pretty good. Okay, we've done some questions.
We've done 3. Do you want to do one more question or crack into our final segment?
Let's crack in. I feel like we answered those all at length.
Yeah, I like those answers. A lot of times we've answered questions and I'm like, man, I'm a fucking idiot who doesn't deserve to give people advice. But that one I felt, and maybe me saying this is evidence that I definitely don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I don't know. I feel proud about what we just did. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was a good one.
All right. Well, do you want to do I get it. I always get it wrong. I thought it was a different name for several episodes, and I talked about this last episode, so I should stop. But
I want to do O'Houlihan the Living Pub.
That was gonna be I wanted to do O'Houlihan the Living Pub.
I don't know if there is a okay. So real quick, this is
I'm so happy.
No, you good. This is a segment where we riff and kind of chop and screw. Deconstruct existing monsters and D&D concepts, typically monsters. We've done beach vampires, we've done mystery mummies, we've done a bear owl that eats lightning and craps thunder.
Right. So think about this. You know what a mummy is, right?
Yeah.
Or you know what a vampire is, right? But imagine a beach vampire?
Yeah. So
that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So and then let's just show you. So what are we?
But instead, we're just doing
no. So a living city is a thing.
Yeah. Well, an animated object is the simplest form of this.
Yeah. So I think that like there's like a monster that's just like an evil house.
Also, there's like a mimic. A mimic could be.
Yeah. So let's
Man, yeah. So I had the idea of this thing called an elder mimic, which is like it's a mimic, but it's a lot crazier and it's more intelligent. It's maybe not even intelligent, but it like has more machinative capacity. And like an elder mimic might actually become a pub for some reason, you know?
Yeah, no, because like I like this because like in this taxonomy, like the like a mimic that's just a treasure chest would almost be like a grub.
Right.
Then it's like maybe if it succeeds or maybe if it eats enough adventurers, but like most of the time, if a mimic is going to get killed because it's a one-on-one fight. But this person has 4 other people with them.
Before it was an O'Houlihan version of O'Houlihan version of the pub of the midget mimic. My idea was that it was a sarcophagus and it would open and close, and then people would think it's a mummy, and then be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fucking bother this mummy," and it's like, "Haha, I'm a sarcophagus." And then it eats the people it wants, but it can like stay away from the things that it's fine. Anyway, but this is O'Houlihan, the living pub.
Yeah, so I think this is a thing that started out as a treasure chest, and then maybe from a treasure chest, it eventually gets to the point where it can be a wardrobe.
Yeah, it finally turned into an outhouse.
Yeah, and then like an outhouse, maybe then a shed.
Yeah,
maybe it becomes a carriage.
Yeah,
and then like goes around. But then it's finally succeeded at like, and I think it would have to be clever. For it to succeed, it couldn't just be like, there's that pub at the edge of town that everybody who goes into dies.
Yeah.
It would just be like, sometimes people don't make it home. And everybody, and maybe it's a night when it makes the liquor particularly strong or the beer. And it's like maybe it can do some low level, like affecting the mood. And like people just like, people like don't have a strong memory. And then like somebody got eaten. So you have maybe you have your adventurers stay in this pub, which is a thing that it's fun because it's supposed to be a resting place, or it's supposed to be like a nexus. Like we have expectations as D&D characters about a pub.
Also, there's a lot of expectations about a tavern or a pub that are very boring and rote. So this very much flips those expectations, subverts them.
What if there's like a weird, like an overly friendly like bartender or barmaid, even that's just like an anglerfish's lure?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, there's that sexy bartender, and then you start talking about it later, and it's like, oh no, that's just that stupid first episode of original Star Trek.
That's a lot of tropes.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's a little bit. It's maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I just okay, that's good. I just want to put out, like, you go into the bathroom to throw up, and then the toilet like eats you.
Well, that's good too. That's maybe it could attack. It's, or what if the toilet really likes eating your throw up? That's even worse, isn't it?
Well, I kind of like the idea, I always like monsters not being bad. So, I would like, we don't have to, but a world where it's like people are digging it. People are digging the living. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe it just eats like creeps.
Or maybe it used to be bad, and then someone sanctified it and it turned fine, and so it's like, it's a novelty. Someone
got
bought
smart
it
enough that it stopped wanting to eat the interesting people and was like, well, I'm picturing like an old timey antique D&D pub that like lifts itself up on like big wooden spider legs that are maybe like come out from maybe it's like, they like lift out from the ground and then like just carry it somewhere else. And it's like, do you see that new pub that opened up at the edge of town? And then, maybe it's there for like years until it just grows and goes somewhere else.
Like it ate a powerful businessman, and it's like, I've been going about this all wrong.
I feel like we should quickly clarify that typically that what a mimic is it's a treasure chest. You got to open it and it attacks you instead because it's a monster that camouflage itself as a treasure chest. Classic Gary Gygax to hell with you players.
Technically speaking, it doesn't have to be a treasure chest, but since a treasure chest has a lot of inherent value to it and you'd want to touch it, it chooses that form. It has a sticky skin that has a powerful adhesive so that if you touch it, you're stuck to it permanently. So the idea is
about that.
That's the biggest part, because it's like, oh, a treasure chest, let's open it. Both of my hands are stuck, and I've just opened its mouth in front of my face, so it bites my head right off. And so, so the mimic is like a treasure chest that has a big, gross mouth. they're often, I think, statted pretty powerfully, at least for low-level creatures.
Yeah.
Or low-level
They're
parties.
there's a thing. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 12?
Yeah.
Do you remember that there were only 3 of them in the whole game, but they're evil save points? There's
don't
like a
remember
save
that.
crystal, and like unless you're playing the very difficult post game content, you're only going to run across one in the game. It's at the most tedious part of the game. It's the one place where you don't have your map, but it's just like you go and
Oh, I'm thinking of a different game.
oh yeah, Final Fantasy
Sorry.
12 was the one with Ivalice.
I was thinking of 9.
Oh yeah,
I did play 12, but I only
Okay.
got like a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, it's just like it's a thing that only happens once, and a save point attacks you, and it's got an irritating thing because it's immune to everything but elemental magic, I think, and so it's like you're like, oh, a save point. I don't need to use my potions and stuff to heal because those heal me, and I'll be able to save and quit.
Jeez.
And then you get it's just think about. I mean, I say this as the person who came up with literally a guy who murders you after you win, or who shows up and attacks you right after you win a difficult fight. Yeah. But so I don't know. I guess like think about like don't do this kind of thing too often unless it's the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
See how it plays. I don't know. I really like O'Houlihan, the living pub.
I wanna. What more is like? I don't know. I like the idea. I thought of this and forgot it multiple times, but like you think it's O'Houlihan's. Like it's a guy named O'Houlihan, and then you look and it actually just says O'Houlihan. It's like, well, wait, what? It's like, yeah, that's O'Houlihan, the living pub.
Yeah, it's me. It's like, who's O'Houlihan? Yeah. It's like, I am.
Yeah, I am. Call on outside. He's like Cat Bus. He's friends with Cat Bus. That's canon. Send us your Cat Bus and O'Houlihan art.
I'm picturing like those big like pebbled glass windows almost with the wrought iron run through them, like old timey, like obscured smoky glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm picturing like all of those, because they're often also kind of diamond shaped.
Right.
I'm picturing all of those opening, and just eyes like opening, like those are actually eyelids.
Yeah.
That open when it sort of comes awake, and also it goes up on the legs and crawls like up the side of a different building. And maybe now it's like a rooftop pub.
So yeah, it's a pop-up spot, and
it would be able to disguise itself, right?
Yeah,
it would look different.
It could.
Yeah,
that's part of being a mimic. I would like maybe like every full moon or every new moon or something, it moves, and so.
It's really hard to find out of the way pub that like only a few people know about. It's like, no, it was this great place. Let me show you.
Right, and then it's gone.
Yeah,
and that's part of its mystique. And it's like they had this kind of ale. I've never seen it. They said it was from a crazy place. It was a local brew house. I don't know.
I love
making
it.
Microbrews.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. I don't know. I wish it was more. I want it to be a character on Harmontown.
No, you can't have him.
I think Schraub should switch from whatever his character name is. What is it? Who's that guy?
I'm not caught up.
What's Gary Shambling? His name is Gary Shambling, the Shambling Mound.
That's silly.
And he should instead be O'Houlihan, the living pub.
Well, he can't because this is our joint IP.
OC, do not steal. Yeah. Unless you're using it in your campaign, which you can use it in your campaign.
Steal it and then tell us how you stole it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us.
More or less. Right? You can follow us at Master Manual Pod on Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook, on Reddit.
Yeah.
We got a Discord.
Yeah, we do.
All the same stuff. Master Manual Pod, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think with this episode, we'll post a link to the Discord.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you have any ideas, if you think our space squids need a more Milky Way or something, you can send us some aminal notes. Amlinol. That's the thing. I think what we settled on was aminals, right? It was AML aminals.
Well, I said amlinals, and I said I like it because it reminds me of aminals, and you said, oh, me too.
But that's the thing is, like, I think that we were amlimals for a while, but then it's aminals.
Let's just go with the aminals.
And that's the thing is, I think we did go to animals, but we just forget.
Let's go with the aminals, and then let's start using the hashtag now.
Hashtag
so by the time people
aminals.
hear this, we will have settled this a month ago.
Yeah.
Good.
I think we had a different hashtag before. What else? I'm at the Sixler. You
Matt
have a Twitter
Skullmandible.
and other stuff.
Cohen is a ghost.
Check me out on Harmontown. I also
check
appear
him
on
out on
Safe
Harmontown.
Space, but you don't have to check it out.
All right.
I don't. Yeah, don't check anything out.
Well, it looks like we booked it again.
It looks like Mastery is once more manually as we book it again.
Until we roll again.
Oh, yeah. We got to keep adding to it. Next sheet's on me.
Oof.